Hello, parents. Mr. Turek here. I got an interesting email and I thought I would put together a response and share it with you this way. So, the email was from one of my students, and you, as a parent, or you parents, were interested in what kind of support can you provide for my students in your home as they, struggle with all the material in the science and engineering courses that I teach. You might be encouraged to know that how well you know the material isn't, for the teacher part of it, isn't the most important factor, nor is it what technology is available for your child to work with, or kind of indirectly from that, how much your family wealth is. The most important factor is time, the amount of time that one person is willing to spend working with your child to help them understand the stuff. It doesn't matter if you don't know the material at all. That's not as important as just willing to, hang out with them, guide them, mentor them, whatever you can. Just, encourage them there. In a regular school year, pre-COVID, I would have spent about twice as much time with your child as I'm spending now under this virtual academy arrangement. I teach 4 different courses, and all of them call on math skills. The biggest thing you can do to help prepare your child to be successful in my course, I would say, is to make a game out of improving their math skills. You don't have to be a master at math yourself. You just have to be like the referee, the mentor, the person who gives them a little nudge to here, do this little exercise for us. Hi there. I thought I would share with you just some ideas off the top of my head. Do you happen to have a bookshelf with some books on it? Challenge my student, your child, to estimate how many pages are on this one shelf. Maybe they say 10,000. Okay, so you could say 12,000. Then let them spend, no more than 10 minutes just seeing how many pages are in each book on this one shelf, and add them together and see what the total actually is. Whoever comes closest to the correct number gets the reward. Does my student drink water? Have them estimate the volume of one gulp of water when they drink from a water bottle. I suggest they do their estimate in units of ounces. How many gulps of water is there in a 1-liter water bottle? They do their estimate, you do yours. They count, you compare. Winner gets the reward. This is my popcorn bowl, and my hand sort of for scale. So one time, out of curiosity, I was interested, how many kernels of popcorn pop when you pop a batch of popcorn? Have my student make an estimate, you add in your estimate, and after they make a batch of popcorn, they get to count every kernel and see whose estimate was closer to being correct. Do you have windows in your home? Perhaps with window screens? There's 2 different estimates right there. One of them is, have my student estimate what is the total amount of surface area of glass for all the windows in your home, and have them express it in units of square meters, just to practice doing some conversions. After they make their estimate, of course, they can measure the dimensions of one window and then count the number of windows and work out the total. As a separate challenge, if you have a window screen, challenge them, well, how many little squares are there in one window screen? Or perhaps for your entire home. Have them estimate how many little squares they think there is. Then, in about 10 minutes, hopefully, they count how many squares there are, perhaps per inch, then multiply it out, length times width, so many inches this way, so many inches that way, Or perhaps they do it in metric units from the beginning. Winner gets the reward. This is a little old-fashioned now, but do they happen to have a shelf with a bunch of DVDs on it or CDs on it? You could have them estimate the total amount of playing time for all the digital media on this one shelf. And then, after the estimate, they just look at the total playing time listed on each individual package, sum them together, and you see who came closest to the actual value. Does your home happen to have bricks or tiles? Have them estimate how many of them there are before they count them. This is one that I actually did with my students in a classroom. I picked just one page, and in the classroom it was actually a handout of instructions. And I challenged each individual student to count how many times the letter E occurred on that one page. This became an exercise in how humans carry out an experiment and have errors, typically errors of omission, so they don't count all of the E's that are there. One year, our class worked individually, and the students were surprised at how many different answers they all got from exactly the same page. So then I had them work in pairs to try to agree to one number for the two students. Then I had them work by entire tables. There are 4 students to a table, and have each table agree to how many E's there really were on that same page that they all looked at. Even with all of that, there was disagreement, and the class agonized as a whole just how many E's were there really on just one page. So this is something that you could do if my student, your child, has a sibling, and have a little bit of a challenge that says, how many E's did you count on this page, and how many E's did my student's sibling count on the same page? I would add to that whatever you can do to help maintain your home under these conditions, that is also a math exercise, is even better. I don't know what sort of activities mathematically are going on in your home, but involve my students however you wish to. If it's with help with family finances or business efforts, great, involve them. I do want to share with you, this is all from this current school year, that it is a significant issue about academic dishonesty and cheating in my courses. So here is an example of a homework problem that I'd given out, and in blue is what the student's response is. And you might notice that here it said the pilot weighs 174 pounds, but they typed in 165 pounds. And they left off the co-pilot, and so the numbers just don't make sense. Why is that? Well, they went and found an answer key for the original problem on the internet, and then just copied and pasted the numbers from the answer key without even thinking about it, without even reading the problem. And this is a concern. This was 20% of my honors course in aerospace engineering, 3rd-year engineering students. And this is kind of a prevalent attitude that I'm getting across my classes, particularly across the younger students. So 10th grader students tend to do this.
Okay, thanks.
Here's an example of some data collected from students and turned in. So I'm trying to get them to use some new analysis software that I provided to all of my students. They're supposed to make a video of dropping an object and then convert the visual information into a data table and turn it in. If you look at what they actually turned in, and this is an example, now again, this is this year, and many students did stuff like this, where it makes no sense, the data that they're showing. They're saying, oh, this thing fell up about the distance of just a few inches or 5 centimeters, 2 inches really, and it took over 20 seconds for it to fall up. That is nonsense. If you look over the shoulder just a little bit while they're doing their homework, before they hit the submit button, maybe have them just run it by you and say, oh, here's what I did, here's what I'm about to turn in. That would certainly make a difference to me on my teacher end as to saying, oh, okay, they didn't really, they're not totally lost. They have some idea of what they're doing. These next few slides, I just wanted to share with you. This kind of started a long time ago. I have a cousin who asked me, hey, do I have any movies to recommend to him? So I started sending them an email list once a year. And after a couple of years, I started keeping track of which ones I told them about. And so now in modern times, I try to pare the list down and say, okay, what movies would be kind of appropriate or inspirational for my students in high school? And these are not really well vetted, saying, oh, yeah, this is a movie appropriate for a young child, or, well, there's a little bit of controversy in this movie, or whatever. So you're on your own for that. But this first list is particularly for the aerospace engineering students. It's all based on real life, true events, things that actually happened. The top movie just came out last year, and it's an excellent movie. Uh, the next one down, I have to admit, is just based on memory. I could not find it anywhere modern on YouTube about this movie, but there is a movie out there somewhere about the Wright brothers that was pretty good. All I see right now is not very good old movie on YouTube. And then down through the list, okay, stuff maybe you know just something to toss out there on a weekend. We used to enjoy watching movies while I was growing up. I'm just putting this out there with you. Here's an additional list, and these movies are again based on true events or actual people. Uh, some of these are very modern events, some of these are historical, and just something different from watching uh, the kind of action adventure movies that are not very thoughtful sometimes. And that list continued. Of course, you don't have to read this now. You can just pause this and do it at your leisure. So here's just some movies that I enjoyed that I thought, well, okay, here's something fun. If you haven't seen it already, it's a suggestion. Some of these are kind of nice. And more of those. And more of those. So that's about it. For books, people don't read much anymore, I know. I would recommend The Martian by Andy Weir. It has a couple of unrealistic parts to it, like the whole idea that a hurricane on Mars is so strong that it would uh, do the damage that it allegedly did. And another little technical detail at the end. But gosh, the rest of it is so technically correct and true in the essence of the story that says, okay, if we ever discovered that there was someone who was in trouble, that we would make an effort to do a rescue if we could. I mean, if you think back to the movie The 33, that's based on a true event that happened in Chile a few years ago. And this book is in that sense of, yes, as humanity, we would care about a person and would do what we could for them. I don't remember Encounter with Tiber very well. Enjoyed it when I read it, so I thought I would include that. And I've told my students a little bit about the discoverers. So that is, gee, I wish I could reread it now, but it describes, for example, advances in medicine. How did they come about figuring out the way the human body works? Or where was the edge of the world in medieval times? And just a lot of things, the development of statistics, the development of assessing cultures around the world. So when the United States was really young, someone posed the question, well, is land passed down through the woman or through the man in Iroquois Indian tribes? And so that led the United States to doing a survey of everyone they could contact in the world to answer questions like that. So just interesting stuff. I hope just take this in the spirit that I'm offering it, that says, I'm here trying to do what I can. And if you want to know what kind of support you can do, it's really just time and stuff, which is so hard for you to do, I know, under these conditions. And finally, just to give, yes, here's a direct answer to the questions that came in the original email. I do try to record parts of my class sessions, not where you can see the students' faces or audio. That's not really legal under these conditions. But I have a camera focused just on the paper that I write on and the audio that goes with it. And so that gets posted. I do tend to share it across a few a few classes, not just the one where it was recorded. I have some volunteer students, and I'm going to try to put together a way for them to uh, provide their emails if your child wants to contact them and make their own arrangements asking for help. And yes, we usually have a review sheet that goes out. Exams are administered in a live session. I would not mind if you kind of monitor them during an exam and just confirm that they're not discreetly communicating with other people. We cannot enforce that uh, effectively online like this. We could use GoGuardian and this and that, but it's not effective. And so the students are using Discord and they're using other techniques and they're communicating with each other in real time during the test. And I would just invite you, if you're aware that they're going to be taking a test, keep and if you're able to do it, all right, just try to keep an eye on them a little bit for me as they work on it. This concludes the slides and the videos that I was trying to share with you earlier this week. Now I'm just turning this into a YouTube video. All right. Thank you.